Hi, my name is Winslet, and welcome to this video on the new 3.0 update for Stellaris and the content that came with Nemesis. I've kind of put it all into one. I've actually got timestamps down in the below to help people navigate to all the different things that I want to talk about today. I thought it'd be cool to start off with some basics and then move into some fun facts, little things that I noticed in the streams or people asked about in the streams, and those questions didn't get answered. And so I looked into it and saw some really, really cool things. And then I thought we'd talk about the endgame crisis stuff at the end of the video. I'm actually joined by what I would consider an expert in Stellaris, maybe some would even call him a master. You won the MP at the last PDX con, right, Silas?
Yes, I've won that, like the Arc of Ascension thing, tournament kind of thing.
And you playing competitive multiplayers all the time. I think a big part of your victory was you're playing against YouTubers, personalities that don't necessarily play in the same types of games as you. Is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of those people that had first off never tried the mod before, and they had probably never tried like competitive play either. So it was kind of it kind of wasn't really a fair fight, I would say, that game.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say before we jump into the content that honestly you're one of my favorite people to play against in a multiplayer because you're really talented, really good at the game, but you don't like hold that over people who don't know that much about the game. You kind of are patient with people and you're willing to walk them through the basics. So I'm super excited to have you here for this video and yeah, to do more types of things like this with you in the future because it sounds like people have really liked when I've done this type of video with the Age of Wonders Planetfall. That's kind of like been my main game for people who are just here for Stellaris. I love Age of Wonders Planetfall, and if you do too, please go check out my videos. I've got like maybe 100+ guides, some of them almost 2 hours long. I don't know how long this one's going to be. I've got like 40 bullet points. So we might as well start jumping into the first one, which is having lots of envoys is really nice. That was something DJ, one of the community ambassadors, highlighted in I think the first feature stream where they showed off content. And that's because you use them in diplomacy and for espionage. You've got kind of a dual purpose for them, and they're very unique in that regard. Generals usually run armies, and governors usually run planets, and admirals run fleets. And scientists run your research or science ships. So I guess scientists are the closest things to envoys because they have a little bit more versatility to them. But yeah, let's go over which empires get more of them because those ones I feel like have a massive advantage in well, single player and multiplayer. What do you think? Do you think the starts that have more are better starts than they used to be, or like really really good now with the new meta?
I mean, Envoys are Envoys, and espionage hasn't become that much important in the new version, I would say. Finished. You can only have one envoy. You can't put multiple envoys on the same empire to build spy network,
Yeah, but
is the thing.
you can use multiple envoys for diplomacy, and I found that when I took this start, I was surrounded by a couple hostile people, and I was able
Yeah.
to just turn them into friends by like throwing 3 envoys into our relationship right at the very beginning. And they're
Yeah.
used for your like end game things like the Imperium and diplomatic way. It can be pretty impactful in the late game.
Yeah, like envoys, even last version envoys is literally you are like a AI don't attack me button.
Pretty
Like
much.
improvisation is very powerful and kind of broken because you don't invest anything into just more or less getting a free opinion with AI.
Yeah. One of the things DJ did say, and I think that feature streamer, one of the ones that came soon after that, is that it's harder to hide behind the AI, and I just haven't found that to be the case. I was able to hide pretty easily behind a AI that should have been hostile to me, but I was able to turn into a friend and then a defensive friend that would build all the fleets that I really needed. And I just, tech rushed, which is one of the things hive minds do really, really well. But I don't really want to move away from envoys yet. I think we should probably highlight that You know, Hive Mind has one option to get extra envoys. It gives you 2 extra envoys. If you go to just like a human empire,
I think
there's
they have the exact same civic, diplomatic corps.
yeah, it's exactly the same. And
like those 2 civics is probably like I think Stefan put them at like S tier in his civic guide, because they're not exactly, I wouldn't call them good civics.
yeah,
I never like I never use them because they only improve your diplomacy.
one
They
neat
don't
thing.
improve your empire.
One
Diplomacy, if you're playing against AI, can be so powerful. It's diplomatic corps more or less guarantees you will never get attacked early game.
That's a good point.
Unless you, of course, start beside like a Total War empire.
Right, because envoys don't do you much good in the case of multiplayer. I've like the competitive thing that I think you might be in tomorrow. Are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm doing the tournament thing.
Yeah, so that'll probably be up when I release this video. I'm probably gonna release this like in 24 hours from recording it. But you won't be able to use envoys. They just, except for spying.
Yeah, like Envoys the only thing you really can do with Envoys in multiplayer is spying now. Before that, they were literally useless, only good for maybe a little bit more diplo weight. But the quote-unquote meta is to not even join the Galactic community, so diplo weight does not even matter there.
That's a good tip for newer players, because it has to do with the market, right? And not having to share with what other people are dumping into it. If you have your own internal market, it's better than having the Galactic market. And it's something I've been playing more around with. I like it.
Your own internal market you can at least control. Is the main thing.
Oh, and one fun thing I noticed after I made my Hive Mind Empire is if you want lots of envoys, you can actually get, I think, 6 at the beginning by going Xenophile with Diplomatic Core. Hive Mind doesn't have like a thing like Xenophile that you can use. It just, when you go to the center, it gives you encryption, extra influence, and war exhaustion. That's something we will come back to, because that encryption, I think, is part of what makes Hive Minds really, really good.
I don't know how encryption works actually.
It keeps people from spying on you, and when I had it in my late game save, it made my Galactic Imperium of a Hive Mind like undethronable. Nobody could get the Rebel operation. I kept spawning in different things. Nobody could get the Rebel operation intel that they needed to be high enough for infiltration. I think it is not intel. Intel and infiltration are similar, but not exactly the same. That's one of those things that I still need more time with to really wrap my head around.
I can see encryption be really good, and decryption, of course, can be really good in the new version, because now a lot of information is more or less hidden to you. A lot of information is hidden for you early game. Like what stars a person have. Like you can claim somebody's systems if you don't know what system he has.
Yeah, I think like you get to know their capital, I think, once contact is made, but like everything else is kind of like you don't know what that is. So if you want to claim their capital, you can do that, but good luck with everything else. Maybe in the next war. Inward Perfection actually gets one less envoy, which makes a lot of sense. They're back to the standard 1 envoy at the beginning of the game, which
they used to also do that before. Then they just had 0 envoys.
Now they can use,
which was kind of fun.
Some for spying, I guess. I don't know what else you do with an
spying.
envoy. But their code breaking is lower, which makes it harder for them to actually go spying. I don't know if it'll make a giant difference.
Do they have more encryption though? I don't know.
They have +1 encryption, so it makes them harder to spy against, which I think is a fun little change. It's one of those things that people can really miss easily in the patch notes. There was a lot of really fun ones, and that type of stuff is what I want to highlight after going over who else gets envoys. I think Machine Empires have a pretty fun one, and MegaCorp. MegaCorp can do Xenophile with basically the same thing.
Public. MegaCorp also get the branch office that give you envoys, I think. It gives you diplo weight, not envoys. that's a built-in that gives you Envoys, or well, at least used to give you Envoys.
I had a friend, a member of the community, tell me that he was able to get 11 envoys in his playthrough, which is pretty insane if you ask me, and would be very useful for spying. I think it was a spying-centric civic, and what else did he say? He was able to get some from embassies, an embassy building, something that you can unlock with
Yeah,
tech.
embassy building. That's I think it only cost like two what is it two crystals to upkeep, and
Right.
it gives you one envoy.
It's pretty nice. If you're gonna go spying, you might as well have that. You could probably spy on almost everyone in the galaxy if you really want to. It just takes investing time into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all the envoy stuff. No, wait, there's one thing. Machine Empires get something slightly different. I thought this was kind of interesting. If we untag those, we can go over here and see that they don't get +2 envoys for their thing. They're delegated functions. Where are you? Did I go past it? There they are. They give +1 envoy and more leader pool, and less leader upkeep, which is slightly different. It's nuanced. It's not like gonna make a giant difference, but I thought it was worth mentioning. What do you think about the fact that they get one less? Is it meh?
I mean, I guess it's pretty meh, because if you go for extra invoice, you want extra invoice. You kind of don't want leader.
Yeah.
Like, leader bonuses is also really not very great either. So like, I think that's probably actually is a downgrade indeed.
Yeah.
Compared to like normal.
I mean, if I'm going to be playing machines, I'm playing rogue servitors. Apart from that, I feel like this is heresy. I can't abide the machine.
So I do want to point out, machines do get +1 code breaking with their static research analysis, like the research civic.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They get the same thing that hive minds get with the encryption and monthly influence and war exhaustion, but they get something slightly different for their empire modifiers. Hive minds get really good pop growth and less empire sprawl penalty, which is pretty important. It's pretty nice. In my playthrough that I did, the first playthrough I did with this stuff, I was able to like keep my sprawl down really easily with 0 effort, basically. Every once in a while I'd use a building slot for it, but it really wasn't something I had to think about that much. I think Void
on
Dwellers...
this version, you mean? Was it on this version?
Yeah, it was on this version.
Okay.
I think Void Dwellers had some changes. I'm not going to actually... I guess I could start a save up and show off that they have some different traditions, but that's in the patch notes. I think it's just worth highlighting that they're pretty different now, because their tradition tree was changed, and I think there may have been some things actually changed in their start.
Yeah, like the habitats in general are worse now because they have a lower pop capacity, which directly affects your pop growth and the habitats. So habitats are not all that great anymore.
Oh, that's a shame.
Like, Void Dweller is still pretty powerful though. Oh well, it's still powerful because it's planets at command from game start. Like, you invest, you can make as many habitats as you want. So if you get like a free boom, you can still grow pretty powerful with the Void Dweller.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, actually. So it's good to hear that you've at least heard some things about it, with the pop growth being an issue. Because I mean, pop growth is really important. Like, you're gonna have less pops than in previous versions of the game, so being able to grow them quickly up to that capacity is pretty important.
Yeah.
Criminal Syndicate's got some changes. They're now better at spying, which is just amazing. I love that change. I think it's really fun and just opens up so many possibilities.
I also love that change if it wasn't for the fact that criminals are really bad now.
They're bad? No!
I believe criminals each give -10 trade value, if I remember.
Oh no. Yeah, that could be a problem.
That is really bad.
And people can always just build anti-crime things and reduce your income off of that, which I understand, but it makes being a criminal syndicate pretty tricky. It'd be nice if there was other ways to counteract that. And I guess the spying system is potentially supposed to do that. But I found that things like stealing technology, it's too expensive. There's a lot of operations that I feel like need to be cheaper for them to be usable or benefit or like a worthwhile investment. Ring World
Yeah.
Origin got nerfed hard. I think they're the
But
jobs
they are
that you
still
get.
good.
Oh yeah.
They are actually still good.
The jobs were reduced to half what they used to be. I think you used to get 20 per Ring World section, and now it's 10. And I don't know if the cost of upkeep changed, but I think it's similar. And you start with Ring World habitability. I don't know if that was in previous versions, but it's a pretty big negative, and it can make it a little tricky at the beginning.
And the Ring-World habitability is probably the biggest downside.
Shadow Council got another change.
But at least for what is it, machines, they are very powerful still. Ring-World.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good point, because you can just, if you're a machine empire, you can just leave. It doesn't matter. You're having Ring World
I'll say
habitability.
machines probably will be maybe meta now with the changes to them.
Gross. I think Hive Mind might be able to compete with it.
Hive Mind probably will also be able to compete with machines, but yeah.
I was really hoping this would be the patch to make spiritualism the way, because it should be the way. It should be the best way. But I get it. It's not what this whole like spiritualism technocracy thing is kind of. It doesn't. Yeah, they're supposed to oppose the people who have the best thing to have extra of research. Like research is king in Stellaris, except for in the first like maybe 20, 30 years of the game where people can rush to people who tech rush.
Even then their research is pretty important. It's only like year 10 rushes where it's like, yeah, tech does not matter. Year 10.
Mm-hmm.
Year 20, it does, like year 20 it starts to matter if you have tech or not.
Right. Shadow Council is the next thing I have here. They get more max infiltration level, which is pretty important. I actually tried shifting an empire into this civic to hack into the Galactic Empire I was telling you about earlier. And even with that plus 10, I wasn't able to get an asset. I think you need 30 infiltration to try and get an asset, which will boost your max infiltration, and then you can use that to snowball up to 70. But if somebody's just got too high of code breaking, it's really hard to do. I think I used the all research thing, which should have given me like most of the research that I needed, but it didn't give me all the repeatables, forever, because that'd be crazy. But I don't know. It's pretty hard to deal with a hive-minded empire because they get, I think, bonus encryption maybe for being the empire. I'll have a save.
Gestalt, just being Gestalt gives you +2 encryption.
Yeah, there's other things. I have it in my notes. I could probably check that pretty easily. Because I took a screenshot just to help with that. No, you don't get extra encryption, but I definitely researched some good stuff and invested in it. So they had problems with it. Corvée and a lot of other things, whatever it's called, Corvée systems. There's a lot of things that have removed the cost for resettlement. Pretty much all of the options like machines and MegaCorps and things like that have a thing that lets you resettle for free.
Yeah.
Except for
without influence cost.
Oh yeah, that's not quite the same, is it? Where is Corvée?
It's not the same as free. Yeah.
There it is, Corvée system. Yeah, because it still cost quite a bit of energy. I don't know if it's less energy than it used to be. I think it might be, or I was able to reduce that cost through techs when I started to even look into resettlement. I didn't need to do it. I was able to get plenty of jobs with the new way that buildings and districts work together. It's kind of almost difficult to get unemployed in the beginning of the game, which is a nice change. Functional architecture is nice. Have you noticed what that one gives?
+1 building slot. Yeah.
It's pretty good, right? Being able to pump out maybe research buildings, because that's tied to buildings, unlike alloys and consumer goods.
Yeah, I guess it's actually pretty decent. It's a bit better now, yeah, because it's more bonuses. And I would also say like building like lower building cost is more important now than before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because minerals and energy, I think, are slightly more valuable. We were talking about how, just having less pops makes those resources slightly more valuable, I think.
Yeah, but the thing is, you also need to you also need to build a lot more like districts now. Like you need to, if you want to quote unquote min max your growth, like passive growth, you need to spam city districts, which yeah, it's kind of weird, I would say. You need to spam city districts now, late or well mid game, or well early mid game.
I'm almost ready to load up a save, but I just want to highlight really quickly a couple things that I noticed about, like the authorities, democratic, oligarchic, and dictatorial and imperial. This one now gives, the democratic gives extra resettlement chance for, I think, your unemployed pops. I think that's when there's like a 10% chance, I think, by default, but if you take the democratic authority, it's like 60% chance every month or so. There's buildings you can make to in your star bases to make it 100%, but this is kind of nice if you don't want to invest in those. Have you played much with those buildings that help with the resettlement?
No, I have been playing a bit around with resettlement, and I didn't feel like I needed it. I didn't need it,
Yeah,
I will say.
it will keep you from having to spend influence on resettlement, which is nice. And I think in late game and single player games, it makes a lot of sense. But in multiplayer, it just doesn't seem
I
that
mean,
competitive, especially when like you look at getting extra influence as a comparison, or I guess edict capacity is pretty meh because you want to spend your influence
I
on other
feel like
things.
I feel like they might even have should have kept like the minus resettlement cost as well from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used to give you reduced like resettlement cost. I think if they had kept that as well, so it would both be a cheaper like no influence cost and cheaper energy cost. That would have been a lot better.
Right. I
Then
think
it might have been picked
I
a
like
bit more.
I like the oligarchic authority thing, giving extra influence, because I used to never take oligarchic. Having it like kick out your leader every 20 years is always a pain. And you'd have to find
I
that
mean,
leader where he came from, and then you assign new ones. Maybe it's a governor, maybe it's an admiral. Who knows? It's kind of a mystery.
I would say oligarchy were quote unquote I would say the multiplayer meta,
Yeah.
at least for year 30. Because in a way you can look at it like you are drawing a new leader. You're trying to roll for a better leader in general.
It's a good point.
Like you could get like some crazy like for year 30 rush. Like you can get like a leader that gives you like minus 10 ship build cost as a bonus.
Does that mean people are probably going to take Shadow Council for the election influence costs to help them get the right one, or is that still like, no, don't waste your influence on that?
That's actually is a viable like strat. I know
Uh,
Vagrants have been doing that. I used to do that with Void Dweller last version.
oh boy, I want to play around with this more. That sounds really cool.
I
Okay.
mean, I don't do it because I always forget about the election. Like I just forget about I don't notice the election pop up, and then it's like, oh, wait, I just got a new ruler.
You're too busy looking at the ship designs or your planets, and then something like that happens, huh?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna load up a save where I started to make first contact now. Where we can move on to how envoys are used for first contact, and that no longer tanks your society research. Amazing! Finally, I hated how it used to like keep you from doing society research for a year or two. It's
Yeah, that's probably is a good change. Like nobody ever did really did the thing before, like the research of a contact because it just took too much tech.
So once you complete first contact, you're given three choices. You can either make them like you more. You can make. Did we do it? Yes, we found it. All right, perfect timing. Yeah, this one makes them like you more forever, I think. This one makes it so it's harder for them to infiltrate, and this one makes it so it's easier for us to infiltrate. So you've got some pretty impactful choices here. I was going for this. I was being the empath, but I think making it easier to infiltrate is a pretty fun way to play. Making it harder for people to infiltrate.
Multiplayer, you always want to go for either the faster build spin, or the faster network, or the better defense.
Okay. Yeah, because who cares about opinion in multiplayer?
Yeah, opinion does not matter with players, so yeah.
I think when you complete this event, you get some influence, but if they complete it for you, I don't know if you get influence. Have you played around with that at all?
I don't think you do, but I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on it.
Yeah. I do love the influence. That change is massive, and it just allows you to expand a lot more. I don't know how much it was. I'm at 165. It'll take me just a second to go back to see what we're at. I should have probably written that down. Good thing Stellaris loads quickly. So we were at 100. So it gave me 60 influence for that contact. It's very valuable and worth sending people out to explore, just making lots of science ships so that they can go out and find people, and then you can assign an envoy and expand into all the empty territory. It's kind of important grabbing as many planets as humanly possible.
I mean, that was also before. I would say, I wouldn't say it's that more important. It has always be kind of important, that strat of just taking out planets.
One thing I did notice is if you take an envoy off of this, there's no progress. I thought I heard in one of the streams that it would keep going on in the background, but no, it just kind of sits on that, which is kind of a problem if you forget about your envoy.
I do think it does go on in the background, actually. Like the thing.
I'm looking at it and it's saying next phase in 6 days. I'm on speed 3. A month has gone by. I don't know if it does, or if it'll be complete when the AI completes their chain. I think it's like one of those two. Yeah, they just made contact with me.
I think I thought I saw it go on without the envoy, but maybe that's just me. What I saw.
Said something about an abducted pop there. I think they just abducted somebody from me because they're hostile and they have the abduct edict. You can't see their civics right now, but I know this kingdom. They have the ability to abduct people. It's pretty evil. When you complete the first stage of first contact as somebody like this nation, I believe you are able to go into their capital and start abducting pops. I don't know exactly how the hostile policy works exactly. It seems a bit tricky to I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and they weren't able to do anything else other than blow up the hostile science ship that they first met, and that's a fun little change.
Well, you used to be able to do that as well, like killing people's science ship. That used to be a thing as well before.
Yeah.
The AI just never did it. And I wouldn't do it towards AI because AI built way too much fleet early game. So doing it, I would not have recommended before. But yeah.
And I'm kind of curious about what the shoot to kill actually means, because I wasn't sure, but I think if you're in a multiplayer, you can get achievements, right?
No, you can't.
No. Okay, so that's why that didn't get triggered.
I don't know either, honestly, but I haven't really. You played on achievements, right? Like Iron Man.
I didn't test with that. I tested in
you need
regular,
Iron Man to get achievements, is the thing.
So that's probably why I wasn't able to get that achievement for a full-fledged first contract war. But I think that just means you go in and you start attacking their stuff with your ships, right?
I think it only means that means that you will become hostile with them.
Yeah.
It requires you to become hostile with them. Which when I first saw the achievement, I was like, yes, please, Paradox, give me a better pre-contact war.
Yeah.
I know they didn't. You can't invade planets, nor can you do anything with the outpost you disable pre-contact war.
Part of me feels like we're missing something because I actually do remember DJ saying there's a lot of really fun choices for the hostile the hostile start. But I honestly think it's like if you have the abduction perk, whatever it is, the ascension perk.
Back the spoiler, or
Yeah,
well, nihilistic acquisition.
yeah, that one. Or if you start with the other one that you just said, barbaric despoiler. If you start with that, then you can go raiding for pops. The other option is in here somewhere. I went past it because there's options.
I don't know that. Like it gives it. Does it give you like a unique thing, or is it just you need to bombard it like normal
I
to
think
abduct pups?
I think that you just need to bombard it like normal. I don't know how that used to work before this patch because I never really used nihilistic acquisition or barbaric
That was the
destroyer.
same. Like the bombardment part. No, you will meet those people before you get to the point where you can actually bombard, or well, before you can actually steal pups through bombardment.
I did like that you can change between the hostile or aggressive. It's called aggressive in some places of the game and hostile in the other one. And then you can change that between cautious and proactive after the beginning of the game. That's a nice little change. So if like you're like, oh, there's so many hostile people around me, I need friends, you can change that over to proactive or cautious, just in case you don't know what you're gonna run into. But
Yeah.
I think we can now start to talk about the new building slot meta. I know that you have a lot to say about how, city districts give you extra building slots, the things down here, which is super, super nice.
It's weird. It's very weird how that works.
That combined with having extra housing gives you extra pop growth means that like hive districts or city districts are so much better than what they used to be. Clerk jobs I know are garbage. Maintenance drones I think are a little bit better. Um, but the fact that it just helps you get more people, it's really useful. It's how you get super super crazy pop growth. I think Stefan got like a planet with 40, 50 housing in the Cold War, and that helped him pull ahead in terms of pop growth.
Yeah, I think Stefan said something like you need like a lot of housing now in the new version to get more pop growth. Like you needed like 20 pups.
Yeah, I think if I go here, we may have the high pop malice. Oh, no, not there, but it will start to happen soon. Like somewhere in here, I think by base growth, it starts to go down if you're approaching either too many pops in your empire or the planet's capacity is getting close to full, which is basically housing or housing plus the undeveloped districts, I believe. I think that's how that number is calculated. It's kind of like a fun little change that really affects a lot of different things further down the line. Like pop growth is really important. You want to have as many pops as possible because more means more resources.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the change with alloys and consumer goods being put into industrial districts and
I don't like it entirely.
no?
I kind of don't. I feel like I use it and I feel like I'm way too like limited. And like I just like before that you can literally just switch out most of your like or switch out an alloy foundry with like a consumer good factory and it's like yep, it's fine now.
Yeah, it's pretty flexible, which I think is very forgiving for newer players, but maybe less rewarding for people who understand the mechanics and don't need that forgiveness as much. But for Hive Mind, you don't get a choice. It's just alloys, which is kind of cool.
It also makes Gestalts even better than before. Like before that, like machines got a bit more alloy output per like alloy metallurgist, but now machines get double the alloy output per in the industrial district in the early game,
Hmm.
and that is insane. that's like the same as their own, almost the same as their old like 2.5 version, 2.5 machine power. Where a machine were more or less perma banned from every single multiplayer lobby because they were just too good to be there.
I think it's really interesting that it's based on the same restriction as the Hive district or the city districts. Like they're basically interchangeable for one another in terms of filling a planet up. Whereas you can usually only have so many energy or so many mineral and so many agriculture, and they're usually quite different from each other. I kind of wish they made one for research, but I don't know if that would have broken the game even more. Like being able to just make 18 research plants on a planet, that seems kind of broken. But for the same reason that having that many alloy locations is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Do you like the number of building slots? Because I think it's less. I don't know if it just looks like it, but it feels like less.
I think it's generally less. Yeah, you get, at least you have a less maximum building slots, especially late game.
Mm-hmm. Which is annoying, but it also makes sense because they're trying to limit the number of pops in the galaxy, and by making that so that each planet can kind of do less, you're gonna have less room for pop jobs and housing to just kind of be thrown in.
Yeah.
I actually really liked using Hive Warrens, the extra housing and amenity building, because that was really good at the beginning of a colony, just giving them some extra amenities and housing for pop growth. But I don't know, maybe just getting the extra hive district is better. You get extra building slots, but I don't know. I kind of went in between that and not.
Yeah. But like I'm to be fair, my personal opinion on the Finnish, I like the old building slot meta more. At least that is my initial reaction to it.
It's hard to have a strong opinion because I know you've only had like 2.5 days, 3 days now with the content, and same with me. I haven't seen everything out there, so there may be some things that make me change my opinion, but I'm pretty happy with it in general. It's okay.
Though to be fair, I have only played early game. Early game would focus on making alloys.
Yeah, you've gone to like
And
year
I'd
50 or
say
something.
that is a lot more painful now in the current version.
But I think that's kind of the trade-off, is the late game probably performs a lot better and feels a lot better, and there's more things to do, which is really cool. I think that's one of the best selling points of the Nemesis DLC, is it makes the late game, the end game, more interesting, and you can keep a match going on longer if you feel like it. Although I do feel like in most MPs, somebody's going to pull way ahead of everyone, and it's like, yeah, we can keep playing, but I think we know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, like there is less things. There's less things you can do in the economy now. To passive economy, it's even more RNG the game now. Actually, it's more random the game. With like things you get. The first thing where like rolls, like tech rolls, is RNG. Like you can get a lot more tech now from events and anomalies now in the current version.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have noticed like in 4K research from a single like event.
I actually hadn't noticed that, so that's nice. I mean, even if stealing tech isn't as good as I want it to be, it sounds like that is something they tried to keep into consideration, giving people who aren't playing technocracy materialist and a opportunity to keep up in terms of tech with everyone else.
I mean, it's more random. It's definitely more random. I think it was needed though. I think it was somewhat needed though, like that change, because I think it's good that actually events now anomalies are more important now. Like because of the extra tech you get.
Anomalies were always one of my favorite parts. It's just like a little dice roll. What you gonna get? And it's fun every time. Like it's like opening a present. You don't know what it's gonna be exactly.
Now anomalies are like deck sites. It's the tech version of dig sites.
Right.
Because dig sites are pretty broken because of minor relics are really good in the current version.
That's very true. Yeah, if you want to, you can sell them for energy, but it's better to hold on to them for like the
Yeah,
end game stuff,
like
right? Or the mid
really,
game.
it's best to just sell them early game.
Oh yeah. Oh,
It
I
really is. Like at least if you play like competitive, you want to sell them early game the moment you get them for like 500 energy, and then start buying alloys off the market.
That's good to know. So I think we could talk a little bit about unemployment. I know we already did, or at least the stuff I have under here, and it's kind of linked to the pop growth. But DJ said that you can kind of automate your economy because of things like the unemployment mechanic, but also the industrial district made it so it was just a little bit cleaner and simpler for them to do things in an efficient way, which he found made the AI more competent and competitive. I disagree. The AI was pretty garbage in this game. It actually had a very sizable fleet that it should have been able to use to just roll over these guys. In the end, I made the primitive hunters my friend, and those are the barbaric despoilers. And I made a claim against this system. I was trying to take it using the barbaric despoilers fleets, and they should have been able to roll right through it. But instead, they send 2,000 fleet power against 5,000 time after time after time when they had like 8,000 that they just spread across the galaxy to go different
I mean,
directions and pick at
it's
them.
just,
I couldn't figure out why it would do that. It was
I
driving me
mean,
crazy.
I will say DJ, like in your quote, like DJ did say it was the economy. He didn't say anything about the AI using the economy.
That is very true.
Also sounded like you were also talking about sector automation, which I have no clue how good that is now. It's probably still really bad, but yeah.
I think you can trust it a little bit more, and if you expand a bunch and you're just like, I don't want to
I,
click any more
I
buttons that
think
have to do with
Radiant said
building.
it. I think Radiant said you can trust it now with machine empires, but
Oh,
that's about it.
that's good to know. Yeah, Ray Goons is one of those other players that's like really top tier. If people haven't heard about him yet, he's crazy good. He's one of the best ones I've seen play. He's right
Yeah,
up there with you, Silas, I'd say.
he is better than me, I would say.
Yeah, he's won more games. He's pulled off some crazy stuff in the
Yeah,
multiplayers.
he is like the kind of a weird Stellaris player that also plays single player a lot.
One thing that DJ also pointed out in one of the streams is that the AI now passes Federation laws, which is so good. I don't know why they didn't have that when they introduced Federation laws. I think it was just overlooked. Somebody was like, you can take care of that. And they're like, okay. And they just forgot about it or something.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had to say on basically unemployment. There's that building that I mentioned earlier. I guess I can show that off quickly. It's not here, I guess, because it's not over a planet. If I go to here, do you have an option? How many star bases I have?
The embassy one, or was it? I can't remember what building you were talking about.
The one that makes it easier for unemployed people to move around the galaxy. I guess you have to unlock it with tech, because I'm
That's
not
a
seeing it
starbase
here.
building, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, starbase building, like module, or not module, building on a starbase.
I know I've seen it before. I might need to jump over to a later save. I
I
wanted to
think it's
use.
unlocked through tech, and if and like the exact math on it is that it doubles the chance for pups to resettle on your planet.
Yeah.
The base is a 10% chance to resettle to another planet if an unemployed pup is on your planet every month, and that doubles that chance to 20% every month for the pup to resettle.
But
Over the
they didn't take out the immigration modifier that you can get on your other planets. If like you have immigration happening on one place, then your other pops on other planets will grow a little bit quicker, which is
yeah.
cool. It's like it's just better.
I like that mechanic. Though I somewhat wish they had done that with the new pop growth system a
Hmm.
bit more. instead of it like the housing finna being like, hey, you made a lot of housing districts, now you get extra growth. It would be more like, you don't have a lot of housing districts, now you will start to lose growth.
Right.
And then instead probably just increase like the base amount by like one more growth, pop growth for organics as base.
I do think it's really cool how the growth progress gets harder and harder and harder as you get more and more pops. So it's like if people really invest in trying to get pop growth, which is a great strategy, there's diminishing returns. Like sure, you're actually probably going to still come out ahead if you have more pops, but it's not quite as insane as I think it used to be because of that growth progress. One thing I noticed is like when you're assembling an organic, at least that growth progress increases at the same rate as the growing growth progress. So this
Yeah.
this flat 2, it's good early game, but it's pretty mediocre in the late game. It's like, is this worth having a job in a building slot just to get like 2 out of like 400 growth that I need every month? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it is kind of they might have done a little bit gone a bit too far, I think, with the like pop growth scaling, population scaling, like the cost to grow, the pop growth speed scaling in the game.
If it makes the game run better, I'm actually pretty okay with it. If it lets people like do similar strategies with less pops, cool. We don't need every little individual pop for
I mean,
the rest of the game to still essentially do what it
there
did.
is it honestly made like less jobs viable.
Hmm.
Like that change made a lot less jobs viable. Like soldier jobs are not viable anymore, really. Like
Yeah,
clerk builds. Like I know Stefan made a like a quote unquote somewhat of a viable clerk build. That is also really bad now because of the pop growth chains.
I could see
Like
that.
you just can't allow yourself to use the pops not efficiently anymore, and that's that probably means the Paradox need to get actually start buffing some of those bad jobs that exist.
Have you noticed that abandoning a colony costs 200 influence?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot of influence. I don't think anybody's doing that old strategy, although they've left it like it's still possible. I think you could have just as easily said no, you can't do that, but I guess they wanted to get people who really wanted to
I
waste
mean,
influence an
it
option
makes
to.
it's a good change. I would say like
Raid
they shouldn't have
Goons,
said no, you can't do that because there is viable reasons why you want to like just normally resettle a colony. Like yeah,
yeah. I guess if you've got influence to burn, somehow you've gotten to your limit. Maybe you've got like 4 species you can uplift, and therefore 2,000 potential influence that can just pop up like in the next year or less if you have really good research. Then I could see you throwing a couple planets away for extra pop growth, or that's the reason, right? People abandon colonies is for the pops so that they can resettle them for pops or something like that.
like that used to be a strat where you just colonize with either like a private prospector like Civic or either with Machine Empire. You just colonize planets with your colony ships. And then when you finish the planet, you just resettle all the pops of it to your homeworld. And then you had another colony ship ready to colonize the planet again.
I remember when we were talking right before we got access to Nemesis, you said something about you want about 25 pops on every planet. Do you remember why you said that? Because I think I understand why, but
Because
I'm not sure.
Stefan said that is the min max way to get pop growth in the new system.
So you just get that and then a bunch of housing, and that's gonna get you like an insane amount of growth.
I believe that is gonna get you +3 extra growth on every planet.
Yeah.
base growth.
I was
Uh,
able to get like growth of like 10 or 12, I think, at different parts of the game, which is pretty big. Like it starts off around 3 or something.
like Heimer, for example, now start with 10 growth and with that build, I believe,
Hmm.
which is pretty insane.
Yeah, I love Hive Mind. I think I'm gonna be playing a lot more of it. Although I wish you could be psychic, psionic Hive Mind. That'd be amazing. I'm sure there's a mod for it.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, now we're kind of moving into fun facts and pro tips. That was essentially all of the basics that I wanted to go over. We already talked about tech stealing quite a bit. I think we haven't mentioned that it only gives you 30% progress on a tech from an AI. I can show it off. I actually tested it because I couldn't believe that was it. Because you spend like, what is it, 2,000 energy to start the operation, and then it takes an envoy's time and it lowers your infiltration. It's not very good. I says 1,600 here, but I don't know. I really wish that was better than what it is. DJ likes acquire assets, and I think that's a good one. I think that's a really good tip because it allows your max infiltration to go higher. Right now I'm at 49 of 50. If I got an asset, I could take that to, I think, like 49 out of 60. I think it allows you to grow that higher and higher. Uh, when you have the Empire, you can try and rebel against them if you put an envoy in their territory and get the infiltration up to, I think, 70. But as I said earlier, that's pretty tricky to do. You haven't done too many covert operations, I think you were saying, right?
I don't think actually I made a single covert operation in the version yet. I have used built spy network to increase like my information on people,
Oh yeah.
but that's about it.
Yeah,
Like,
you just get an envoy and they build up this intel and rather the infiltration, which gives you intel, and that can tell you a lot about the government, their diplomacy, and then in later stages their military and technology and
like
lots of
the
details.
technology part is the most important. I think it's a good change they made it so you don't know how strong people are now.
Oh yeah,
That is a good change to the game.
I think the ones that want to have that information, like driven simulators, are pretty good at actually infiltrating. So it's like, it's an interesting change in that they will be able to pick their targets better, and their targets may not necessarily know that they're being picked as a target. They may not even know it's an assimilator for quite a while.
A good point, actually. Let me just check. They can see that. You can see it because of I believe when you meet people, you still see like which type of empire they are.
I couldn't see the civics. I could see when I met the primitive hunters. I was looking at that earlier, and it didn't show me that like, their barbaric despoiler is memorialist. It just kind of said authoritarian militarist, but it's not that hard to get the intel. I think once the
Yeah,
galactic
because they
community
also
forms,
say which like government type they are, like quote unquote government type. So
once
like if you know what like for example if there were a fanatic purifier, it would
yeah,
say something like government type fanatic purifier
that's
government
that's
type
fair. It's
or
easy for
something
some
like.
people to miss those. I would probably miss that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a fun little thing. The next thing I have in my fun facts is crisis selection is really cool. I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this have already seen that, but I love that at the beginning of the game you can choose which crisis you're going to see. I do agree with a lot of people online that were saying that you need an all option. You need to be able to click all three at the same time because that's something a lot of people do in multiplayer. It's really cool that you can open up a single player save, play around with it, and then open it up in multiplayer. Something I've come to appreciate that after playing Planetfall, because you can't do that. It's just not an option.
Can what again?
You can't open up a save from multiplayer in single player, use console commands, and then go back into multiplayer. You're just stuck with
Uh
it in multiplayer forever. or you forfeit the game, you know, like, or you complete the game, I guess is the third choice. Research
That is nice.
Research agreements are different too. That's fun.
Are they?
A little bit. So now it says when you hover over them that we are currently able to learn 5 like physics research or 4 society research and 5 engineering, and they will share with us 5 research, 7 society, or
Now it just
7.
tells you what you get. I think you also I think it might even have told you. I think there was some place where it told you before as well, actually.
I can't remember if it would affect your technology rate gain in previous versions, but I don't think that does that anymore.
It used to increase your research speed from it.
Now it seems to give you kind of like a flat amount of research, which effectively is a pretty similar change, but now you're actually able to wrap your head around how good is this a deal for me? How good of a deal is it for them? And that's useful in multiplayer, definitely.
Just check.
Oh, there's a fun little tech here that boosts your production and not just like your energy jobs, but I think another thing, they basically combined a old research or minerals even. There's this one, deep core mining, gives plus 20% more minerals from the miner jobs, and it used to be that research just gave you that benefit, and now you can get extra minerals from star-based constructions. I'm not actually certain that means all of these little mining stations or just like
just
nebula.
the star base and just the nebula thing. It affects.
Yeah, deep core mining gives plus 20% here, and I think if I hover over something that is being mined, I don't think it will have that over the minerals. There used to be a way to tell that, right? Am I wrong? I thought that you could just hover over it and say where the boost is coming from. It is being boosted by something because it was 6 to 6.6.
Yep.
But I do like that they're kind of like condensing some technologies that makes it easier for you to generate the ones that you do want and not just like the little things that maybe boost your economy. But at the same time, if you really want to boost your mineral income or energy income or food income, that's an option. It's a way to
like the new edicts. Yeah.
Yeah, the edicts come with some of those in the later versions. I think I took the food one, and that came with a
plus 50 to farmers. Like the change to edicts have been so needed. It's unbelievable. Like edicts were so useless for the longest time. It was not even funny.
Don't know if I actually put that in my notes. So that's a good point. I'm glad that you're bringing that up about the edicts. Because what did it used to be, like plus 20%, and now it's plus
20%, and it was like something really stupidly low extra you got from like technicians.
Yeah.
Like if you had the energy, I think it was something like 0.2 extra energy per technicians it gave you.
Because of the upkeep that came along with it. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
It was really pretty stupid.
When you keep in mind that you're gonna have less pops, that's awesome. That's a really good change. I agree. 100%.
I mean, even like it's not something because of the less pop thing. It's just something that should have been in the game the moment they added the edicts, like those edicts.
Yeah. I think I was getting that 10% came from the mining station output thing. That the technology hasn't changed, but a lot of things have changed for the better. Trading contact has changed a little bit. Trading contact information, you can do it, but you don't get like info about people's borders. You just get a general idea of where people are in the galaxy.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
I could probably use Yes Man and do that on these guys. Yeah, let's do Yes Man and make them give me contact information just to show it off, because it's a good change. I like it a lot. It's Yes Men, not yes man. You will give me contact information. I demand it. Did it happen? There we go. So we found this guy and those guys. It's kind of like we completed the first contact event. We still get the option to do stuff. I don't think I got influence there. But yeah, if I look over here, I can see this guy's capital, and that's it. Which is pretty useful information, but it's not nearly as much. You still have to essentially explore the galaxy or wait for the galactic community, because I think once that spawns, you get 50 intel on all the nations that are in the galactic community, which is enough to know, I think, where their planets are. Let me go to 67. That would have that. I may as well just bring this up here. It will decrease because you do need to keep people in as an espionage to keep that from just decaying naturally. But if I go over here and see the archivists again, we've got 43 intel on them, and that was enough. When we got 50, I think that was enough for us to see where all their planets were. Not much else, but we know where their planets are.
Yeah.
I like that change. The galactic community lets you see quite a bit of the universe, but not everything. Once you make a friend, they'll give you all the information they have. So if you get a defensive pact, I think early on you'll see what their borders are and the borders that they're aware of. So it's a fun way to get that information. Sharing information actually is pretty cool. It's pretty useful. You can't check fleet power in the Diplo. What's it called? In Diplo power, unless I think you have enough intel. I think you might get that information after you've like got 50 intel or so. But if somebody's unknown to you, if I go back to like an earlier save, because all these guys have enough info that I can see things about them, then the fleet power isn't listed here. It's not in the score screen. I think you can see it if you're at war with someone. Even if you don't know how big their fleets are, it'll tell you who's got the bigger fleet, which is kind of a shame. That was a question Umar asked. I was like, I want to know. I need to know that.
How big of a fleet? What again?
Essentially, who has the bigger fleet? Let me go back to an earlier save. I think year 16 Sparrow was in a war here. He was playing simulators because he's into that kind of thing. So yeah, when this stuff's completed, I'll show off that I don't know their fleet power. I think that's cool. And then we'll tag over. There we go. So we're friends, but we don't know anything about you. And yeah, we don't know their fleet power here. We don't know it if we look at diplomatic weight. We just have no information on them. That stuff has been hidden pretty well, but not entirely. Let's go to tag 2. Yeah, Sparrow. Sparrow's at war here. If you go to the acceptance, they'll say relative naval strength. Right now he's at -15 because his enemy has a bigger fleet. That isn't always a bad thing. Like if they fly into your star base, you'll be fine. But yeah, given how early it is in the game, he's in a pretty rough spot here. There was other place that you could see your naval strength, or was it? Oh, it's not really that actually. Oh, alloys. If you wanted to trade, if you wanted to check how many alloys somebody can trade you, then you know pretty much what kind of fleet they can build. That's, I know, an MP strategy. People will go in here and say, no, not there. How many alloys can you give me? And that's like a pretty good idea to get a rough estimate on how much they have the ability to make. That plus the information of their actual ship size or their fleet size is pretty useful stuff.
Just a second. I'll go check if I can get something to drink. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, this is not gonna go on too much longer. Probably like 20 minutes tops.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush through it because I like the info that I was able to collect and you helped me gather.
But yeah, I'll be right back in like 2 minutes.
Sure. What else is there? You can figure out if somebody that you've met is I can't really show it off here because I don't have this isn't in multiplayer right now, but I did test it when I was able to make not first contact, but I was able to figure out that there was an empire out there called an alpha alien or something that was another player. You could go in here and it would say the player's name alpha alien or the player's name beta alien if that was another human player, and it was a good way for you to actually figure out if you were near another player or if you're dealing with an AI. That's still in the game 100%. I was really hoping that that kind of stuff would be hidden because it kind of takes away from the espionage.
I'm back.
I was just talking.
Yeah, I heard about I think you were talking about like the new, the fact that you can still check which player you just met via the player screen.
Yeah.
Before you have even made contact.
I kind of want to make like a rule for multiplayers to be like, don't do that because it takes away from the experience a little bit. But at the same time, it's such instinct, and it's like it's not that big of a deal.
That is like an idea for multiplayer. Is playing with hidden names.
Or maybe just to like make a mod that disables that button. Like that'd be cool. I don't need that button.
I mean, I think hidden names would be a fun idea.
Yeah, that's true. I like it. We could try it out.
Diplomacy with hidden games. I mean, I don't think that our MP games would be that great for it.
Yeah.
Because we talk together, like we can pretty easily find out who is who just by talking with each other.
Exactly. I think one of those more
like
competitive
game,
Yeah, exactly.
That would be actually interesting because you don't know if the guy you just met is
Ray Goons?
roleplay guy. It's a roleplay guy if it's Ray Goons.
Exactly. One thing that we talked about beforehand is I thought it'd be really cool if operations allowed you to sabotage gateways. You can sabotage stations, but you can't like stop people from using their gateways. And I just thought that would really shake up the late game when people are like, well, I don't need fleets everywhere because I can get everywhere really easily. No, what if an operation made that impossible? It's not in the game yet, but if there are any modders who made it to this point in the video, I'd love to see that kind of thing. And there's other little ideas in here too that I think we're about to come up to that would be fun to see in game.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the other things, I think you may have said this, or I may have brought it up, and you mentioned that the MIA exploit works a bit like this. If you could turn your fleets invisible, which I don't really understand why that's not a thing, because that would be awesome.
I'm ask PDX.
It'd have to be like an expensive module or something.
I mean, I guess, it would maybe. I can see issues coming from having invisible ships. I don't know how that would actually be done. Like having an invisible fleet system.
Maybe only it lasts like a little bit of time, or I don't know. It just requires a lot of research. So if you invest in that, you're not going to have the other things you need.
Technically, we already have such a system. It's known as the MIA system.
Yeah.
Fleets pop out of nowhere.
Yeah, if you are in a fight and you retreat, and then they'll go back to their home base, which might be your capital. And I think you've said that some people have used that to ambush people.
Yeah, you can use that to like jump onto your home base and stuff like that. So like to star bases you should not have access to.
Yeah, It seems like a thing that would make sense that now that you'd have less information on enemy fleets, having them just kind of like show up or be able to like be harder to see with sensors, or like you can see them but only once they're in your system. It would be a fun change, I think, that would shake things up a little bit. But I'm not
Yeah.
a dev. I don't know if that would like completely break the balance of the game or make the game just
I mean,
unpleasant to play.
I don't see how they would make it edit in like a good way.
Well, they have camouflage in Age of Wonders Planetfall, and it works really well. Having an extra few units that people didn't know were in that stack means that they will take a fight that they think they can win, and then all of a sudden they've moved into a position they can't get out of, and the
That's
invisible
that's
yeah, things
that's
change
like
hands.
the thing about like you said aliens. I don't see it be a good idea in Stellaris.
Yeah, it's fair. I still think it'd be cool. People in the comments, who's right, Silas or Winsley?
I
Do you
do like, though do like the idea of having a bit better like those kind of ideas for the Stellaris system would be great. More of those ideas.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about Stellaris is there's a very active modding community who adds really fun things to the game.
I mean, that's not something you can mod in. I'm just saying you cannot mod in invisibility cloaks on ships.
You should be. I think you should.
Should,
It's
but you can't.
yeah, that's true.
If you could, the Star Trek that would have been, I think the Star Trek team would have done a long while ago.
Oh yeah, that makes sense because that's a big part of Star Trek, huh?
Well, at least some certain factions cloaking is a big part of their thing. I think the Romulans are. I think. I mean, I'm probably butchering like a Star Trek lore, but I think the Romulans are like the cloaking guys in
Hmm.
Star Trek.
Yeah, that sounds right. They're tech people, so why not? You said to me that you think megastructures are going to be more important in the late game now because there's less pops generating things like minerals or energy. Those Dyson spheres or matter decompressors are really, really good. Much better than
Yeah.
they used to be. Not that they weren't great, but there was something that I always felt like I should maybe not be investing in because I might need a fleet first. Um, but I'm sure even things like Science Nexus, they're still going to be good because there's less pops in general creating those resources. Economically are going to be easier to build. I actually didn't take a Civic here. I know I took a save where I had an open slot for Become the Crisis, so I can actually show off a little bit of stuff about the economically. Such a tough word, but
Yeah. AQs. Just call them AQs.
you're right. That sounds smart. Now the industrial districts count towards the upgrade, so you don't have to have a bunch of useless clerks and housing. I guess the housing is no longer useless, but it's I think a really good change because I hated just like throwing a bunch of city districts down and then upgrading and having to delete them all. It seemed like such a silly little waste.
Like having to do what again? To
Uh,
the yeah.
Deal with the city districts after you upgrade
Oh
the thing. It's just
yeah.
like okay, I wasted all
That
these
was kind
resources
of weird.
now.
I think. Do you still need to do it? I think you might still need to do it. But yeah.
What's it called for?
Yeah. AQs are easier to make now because all you need is industrial or city districts.
I feel like I don't have the tech I need for this.
And
Where
industrial
is it?
districts are actually useful now. So like.
I'm
Now, when you make an AQ, you don't need to invest, like, you don't need to have an entire planet dedicate, like, the next 10 years of only making seeded districts to become into an AQ.
Am I blind or what's it called again? It's gonna be underneath Ascension perks, right?
Uh, it is under Ascension perks, yeah.
I don't think I bought it and I can't see it and I've gone through the list like 2 times now. Oh, because I'm a hive. That's why. Duh.
Yeah, Highmans don't get
Yeah.
access to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I forgot exactly how these things work, but I think people can trust me when I say that is how it works. You know, instead of just building a bunch of these, you can have these and these in combination with each other. Maybe just
Yeah.
industrial districts, but you know, you kind of want that housing, so I'd go with a little bit of a mix.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's also like one trick I will point out to people. If you do the math, they have changed technician base production to a 6. Like a technician makes 6 energy each.
instead of 8, they used to make 8, right?
So they used to make 4.
Oh, that's good.
4 per technician, so it was 8 in total for a district.
I did
Because
notice Stefan was using quite a bit of energy people, and that makes a lot more sense now. And I think,
because technicians make 6 energy now. Technically, it's more efficient to have your technician make energy than use that energy to buy minerals.
wow, that's crazy. I think given that you may be having a bunch of upkeep for your city districts or hive districts, having that extra energy is really nice. So that's an awesome tip, a really good tip.
I
Next,
mean, it does require market use is the main thing though, like monthly market usage.
yeah, I was having trouble with minerals in this game because I had a lot of planets. It's year 70 and I got 23. It's probably not like an insane amount, but I
Yeah,
didn't
that's a
conquer
lot. I would
anyone.
say that is a lot of planets. I would say.
I didn't conquer anyone. That's 100% me just finding planets as a highly adaptive hive mind with rapid breeder. I also have 330 pops, which seems like a bit for year 70, especially on the new patch, but hey, what do I know?
But yeah, I mean, I haven't played that late game, so I can't say anything. I think that, but it's probably a good amount. I would say, if like, I mean, High might also get more growth. I think.
I'm not sure if you
Yeah.
saw Pretender said something about fixing the blank ship design exploit in the next Star Wars Fallen Republic mod, but that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. I think that's going to make that experience a lot better. And I hope that they start doing something like that in the base game. It's still pretty broken, Ebend was telling me.
I mean, are you talking about like the initial trick of just scrapping your starting corvettes?
No, I think it may be, but I think it was more to do with how when you build them as a blanket and upgrade them, it costs less alloys, like 50% less
Yeah.
or something like that. And sure, it's
I
like
mean,
time invested, but
it only depends on if you have like the upgrade cost reduction,
mhm,
which you don't actually have a lot of in vanilla.
right.
So it's not as much of an issue, but it's technically something yeah you can do, yeah. But just don't see people do it all that often actually.
I liked what Lev found in the patch notes. He said that the AI will now use Caravanneers to buy loot boxes, so the Galatron should appear more in single player and multiplayer games that have AIs. And I'm very excited to hear that because I still have not seen a single game with the Galatron, and it kind of makes me bitter. How about you? Have you?
I have not. I have not. No.
That's ridiculous because you play this game a lot. Like you should have seen it at least once, probably like 3 or 4 times by now. But hey, it's hard to get. I get it. It's a dice roll, and
Yeah.
people don't want to invest in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have not seen it before. No, I have not. I don't think I played the multiplayer where anybody have gotten it.
Is this the Mega Forges save? Does this? I think I need to go to a different one to show off that if you upgrade your forges, then you get more jobs per industrial district, which is pretty fun. I like that idea. That it almost reminds me of the tile system in adjacency, having one thing feed into another, or you know, even like the research boosting building. It's a fun little change. But yeah, if I go to my stuff here, there's the alloy mega forge, and it says that you get +1 alloy job or foundry drone job, or each industrial district on the planet will give 1 extra alloy job when you upgrade this. So if I came in here, upgraded that,
Mm.
these guys would, instead of making 2 jobs, would make 3 jobs here, and I think that wouldn't apply to those jobs there, but it may actually increase them.
Not gonna lie, I kind of hate how like the base thing work.
Yeah, I thought it would be better when I got it. I thought it was going to increase my industrial districts output, and then I'd be able to just like throw a bunch of industrial districts down. But it was essentially just like a district as a building, and I was like, what? No.
Yeah, it's literally just how buildings used to be. Like, it's like why?
Because they want you to research the better stuff, the good stuff.
And you can only make one of. You can make both. You can only make one.
Right, yeah, you can't make the consumer good one. I can't really show that off here with my Hive Mind one, but you can't go for the Foundry, and I think it's a factory.
Weird. It's weird in the way, like I would say, like, here is a trick. If you, I don't think a lot of people here that is actually gonna listen to this is gonna do all that much like quote unquote meta, like competitive. I don't think people that listen to this gonna do all that much like competitive play. But
we may have some fledglings.
One of the best things you can do early game is using the colony destination, which gives you +10 amenities on your colony, which is insane.
The nest one's probably the same.
And then just use like the foundry district building on the planet.
Let me see. Somebody's got to have a colony here.
And then just have 2 like pubs on a metallurgist on their planet, on the new colony.
That's really interesting. The colony designation is actually pretty different than the nest one, because I was like, wait, amenities? That's not what I'm seeing here on my planet.
How many pubs is there on the planet?
For the nest, I could go to a smaller one and see. This one's got 7.
Because you can only have the colony fin when it's under 5 pubs.
What's funny is I have the nest designation. We're under 5. This one's under 5. Let's see if there's like a colony thing for them. I don't think so.
Highmite could be different because they don't actually get a colony. Building either.
Yeah, they just have like this building district reduction and colony.
They kind of have like their normal like admin building on newly colonized world.
It's nice. That's probably why I didn't have to worry about admin cap. I was just constantly colonizing and getting what I needed.
That's effectively like, I think maybe slightly worse, but also saves you minerals like a bit. So it's still good. It's still good. The high mine thing.
One fun thing that you've probably not seen yet is the what's it called, encryption? No, I just had it in front of me. Enigmatic engineering. It now gives you encryption, so it's harder for people to spy on you, and people won't be able to take your tech, which I think was already in the game, but it's, I think, slightly better than it used to be. Steel technology operations will automatically fail when used against us, which if steel technology was better, that would be really cool, but it's not, so it's kind of meh. And yeah, it's mostly the encryption. I think if you're playing as the Emperor, this could be a good way to keep people from actually getting a rebellion going.
Yeah.
Almost on the end game stuff, and then it won't take more than like, I think 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops. Pops with decent or higher living standards now generate more trade. I don't have anything more to say than that's kind of cool.
No.
Rebellions, I think, might be more of a threat than they used to be, at least for AI empires. I couldn't believe when the HHH fell apart in the first 3 hours of the MP. Like, I don't think they'd had any pressure from players, and they just crumbled. Although I'm not sure if the armed privateer operation had anything to do with it. I'm not sure if somebody infiltrated them and just started messing with them for fun.
Which MP are you talking about? What, you guys' MP?
No, the Cold War one. The HHH fell apart in the middle of the map, and they had a rebellion that actually was successful and created a new nation. It's pretty wild. I don't know how much has changed with rebellions, but I like the idea that they could potentially pop up more often.
I think they might have changed slave in a slightly. I think they might have made it so slave events fire more often, with this fucking awful. I hate it
Do you
because you
think?
have like 1 month where you're like, oh wait, the colony destination did go away for like 2 months. Oh wow, I just got -20 stability on the planet permanently for the next 20 years. Yay.
I think I kept having deviancy or crime events, and it seemed to be happening pretty frequently. So that may have been increased as well.
That only happens if you're an unemployed pups, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess
But
that
yeah,
must
I
have
think
happened.
they might have turn up the weights of those events,
Hmm.
which I don't like.
So
That's not great.
all we have
So
left is endgame
uh,
here. What's up?
okay, let's go on to end game.
Okay, so you said something to me before touching Nemesis about how you were way more excited to play with Star Eaters or become the Crisis than the Galactic Imperium. And I did watch A-Spec's video where he talked about how he feels like the Star Eaters are very static and every time you play it, it's going to be basically the same experience. Whereas the Imperium and the rebellions that can ensue around it, the Custodian, it's much more flexible. So I'm wondering if you still have the same opinion, if you still like think the crisis stuff is cooler or more fun.
ISO stuff is cooler because it gives you more bonuses. But and the fucking Galactic Imperium thing is kind of. I mean, I will say, they did add quite a few like good additions to the Galactic community in this
Lots more
way in this
voting.
update. That is very good.
Yeah,
Like for example, now you can call somebody the crisis of the Galactic community. Make someone a crisis in the Galactic community, which means that then they get declared war on by the entire Galactic community.
I heard about somebody doing something like that, and they were able to
And
use
that
that to
is
get the custodianship. They declared somebody, some determined exterminator, fanatic purifier, as the crisis, and that allowed them to get the support they needed to become the custodian, which is awesome. I love that. It's very different because every way you get the custodian can be different. I ended up using console commands to make it easier, but I was basically just getting favors, which you can do through the spy system.
I like that addition very much, especially for multiplayer, because that means that you kind of can't exactly you can as the Galactic community do something against a player,
Yeah.
and he like you can't ignore it as much anymore.
Hmm.
It's like 10 times better than any like sanction paradox have added before in the game to the Galactic community.
One of the really cool things I noticed about Star Eaters pretty early on is you can get that as your third Ascension perk, which means you can get that
Yeah.
super early and start building up the menace that you need to start conquering people. But you probably don't want to do that unless you feel very confident about your position and the people around you, because it will make everybody hostile to you for the rest of the game.
I don't see it happen in multiplayer, or at least I don't see it be like you get the menace in multiplayer, at
Hmm.
least.
I
In
did
but in single player, it's single player, so yeah, you can just dig about.
I did
And
test out the ship thing that we talked about, how destroying enemy ships gives you 3 menace. And yes, corvettes count for just as much as at least a cruiser. I didn't test the battleship, but cruisers, destroyers, and corvettes all were 3. I assume a battleship, probably a Titan, probably anything else. It is
I
all going to
wonder
count
if the
for 3.
science ship would count as well.
Oh, I forgot to test that. Probably. You could probably feed somebody crisis strength, but that feels too exploitive for something I would do. If somebody wants to, they can, but it's What? Why help
Like
somebody else
I
destroy
mean,
everyone?
now I'm thinking about it. You can just have 2 crisis feeding them in each other menace by having them make like a mineral corvettes each, and then suicide them into each other's fleets.
Brilliant. That's so amazing. I love this idea. I think if they
I mean,
FTL out
I,
of there, you don't get the points. You have to kill them. So
I used to. I actually did something similar with Uma, or I think about doing something similar with Uma, way back before 2.2. Like right before 2.2, me and Uma were like doing a little bit of strat testing of how could you actually like train up your fleets.
Oh yeah. Give them the extra emergency FDL and just fight each other. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like the experience
Like
system.
how could you like level up your ships and like the admirals?
So if you haven't played too much in the late game, you probably don't know how the Crisis, or not the Crisis, the Menacing Cruiser compares to the Menacing Destroyer and the Menacing Corvette. But I'm pretty sure you watched a little bit of the Cold War and maybe talked to Stefan about this. How good are these ships? Are they really good?
I've no Stefan. I know they're probably gonna get banned for multiplayer. I think maybe
Really?
Crisis.
Because they
Like
cost minerals, which makes them really easy to pump out. But they're actually that like good in combat? They're not just like throwaway ships.
yeah, I mean they are throwaway ships. They're just good throwaway ships.
Okay. There,
Is the
there's
main thing.
Is there anything
And you also
special about their
really
ship
good. You
design?
also get some really good bonuses from the Crisis later, like good military bonuses.
Mm-hmm. It's fun
Like
stuff.
I think at level 3 Menace you get like a plus 50% fire weight on your ships.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that is pretty huge. That buff. It's like more than
Yeah.
a fanatic purifier.
4 is plus 50% weapon damage. Wow. Extra tracking is nice. Yeah, this is just, it's a nice little tree. I agree with you. I think this is a little bit more exciting than the Imperium, but I think over time, my opinion will change to be like, well, that's a very static
I
experience
could,
that gets banned.
I guess with players, the Imperium is more interesting. I mean, I'm still at the thing like you're playing the Galactic community with AI. It's AI.
Did you see or hear that you can make crisis beacons to call in crisis fleets if you're the crisis?
Yeah, I think they said that in a dev diary. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. That's everything I have on Star Eaters. Then we can just talk a little bit about Custodian and the Galactic Empire. So yeah, it's. I think we already kind of tackled this a little bit. How you kind of need a threat in the galaxy to become Custodian. You can use favors to bribe your way there, but I think the best way to do that is best way to become Custodian is to wait for a crisis and then be on the council, because I believe you have to be on the council to propose that you become the
Yeah.
Custodian.
Like that is one really funny thing about the Custodian. That's the like I just talked with Stefan probably two like right before this video we did this video. I was talking with Stefan because he's playing his weekend multi.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the Custodian, and he showed me that as the Custodian you can permanently veto or freeze any decision from the Galactic community to have you be removed from your post.
Of course, that sounds logical. I hadn't played around with that, but that's kind of crazy. I think this
So
is a
like so like people want you gone from your like Galactic community thing, just veto it.
yeah. Right now,
Just freeze it, and then when it stops being frozen, then you can just veto it. And by the time they can put it back on the board again, you can just refreeze it again and just permanently have it in like a loop.
mhm. I don't think you can make the Imperium without Custodian, so you need to take this step here. And then yeah, it opens up some pretty cool things like the freezing. I don't think we have, but that would be somewhere in here. We have emergency measure, but nothing else.
I think council members also get veto. But yeah, like freezing is a thing only Custodian can do.
Yeah,
The
there's the freeze button.
Empire and the Emperor and the Custodian.
It costs quite a bit of influence, but I believe once you get to Custodian, your base goes to 10 influence gain. It's at least as a hive mind.
I
Actually,
think
yeah,
Imperial, yeah, you get +5 from being Custodian, I believe.
yeah, let's see it here.
And if you
Plus
go
30%.
Imperial,
Wait,
I think you also get another +5 monthly influence, but I'm not entirely sure.
yeah. I mean, as a hive mind, my base is 10 here, so it's probably pretty similar to being Imperial. They get extra influence, I think.
Yeah.
Or yeah, yeah, they get +1 extra influence or plus a half. I can't remember what's the difference between Fnatic or not. What else is
Yeah.
there on this? I don't have a lot to say because I haven't really gotten to try this out in a multiplayer. I think it will be really, really fun in a multiplayer.
Yeah.
Ending a session of a vote before people can vote, change their vote, is a really good strategy actually as the custodian, because you'll have the influence to throw on things like that.
Yeah, like the freezing mechanic looks pretty OP. Yeah, I will say. Like the ability to freeze, any build for 5 years, I believe. You can
Yeah, it sounds like 30
and you can
times.
do it, and you can do
Yeah.
it with as many builds as you like at the same time, as long as you have the influence.
Oh, that's dirty. I hadn't.
You have 1,000 influence. You can just freeze 5 builds and then get the build you want to the top.
That's pretty nice. I hadn't noticed that when I was trying to force my vote for becoming the emperor. I just kept like buying favors. I had to go through every person in the galaxy and buy favors. Did you know you can only use 100 favors in any vote?
No, I did not know that for a fact.
It's pretty funny. It's like you stop using favors. You've got enough favors.
Like literally, you can't go over that because of that's a hard cap or what? It's
Look,
not like cap with influence or what?
yeah, I should have really been streaming this for you to see my perspective, but I forgot to earlier. But you can always find this part in the video and check it. But
That is, I did not know that.
if you want to try to call in favors and you have 100, it'll be like no.
Sure,
you
that's
you've
good to
already
know.
used the max amount of favors that you can be used for a resolution. 100 is our limit.
That is good to note that 100 favors is the maximum you can get.
Yeah, so
I'm
don't
sure I'll use this at some point.
don't call it in on your small unimportant empires. Only do it on the big ones first, and then see what you can fit in later.
Yeah, that's something I didn't know. But yeah.
All right, so Galactic Empire, I once again didn't do this legitimately. I used console commands to get here, so I don't have too much to say other than it gets a new civic. It's pretty cool. You need to remove the Custodian term limit, which is here underneath Galactic Reforms. And then I believe once you've done that, you have the ability to say, I want us to have an Imperium. Yeah, and right here, I think I can call the end of a session because the votes are jumping around a little bit. With 100 favors, it was kind of tight, kind of close. Because if I'd earned my seat, my power without using console commands, I would have been way ahead of them. But I used console commands, so it was kind of close. But yeah, just ending this now, right here, means I get to be able to move on to the next thing, the next stage. Where is it? It disappeared on me. Which is going into the Galactic Reforms and saying, I think it's underneath here, right? Do I just need to unpause and run the game for a bit? See, I don't see it right now, but I remember it being in here underneath Galactic Reforms. That's what I put in my notes. Did I miss something?
Are you talking about the Imperial fleet thing, like the
I
defense fleet?
I just
Is that
removed custodian limit. Oh, here it is. Removed our term limit. Now we might be able to form the Imperium. Yes, proclaim the Galactic Imperium. It's down here underneath custodian, the new thing that I need to propose. So it's going to take a little bit more time to get there. But apparently I can come in here and just be like, freeze all these measures. We're not doing this anymore. Could also call in a bunch of favors. My favorite thing to do.
I mean, you need to be sure you're freezing them before like you're freezing them, so by the time the next bill goes on the thing in the Senate, they are still frozen.
But yeah, that's gonna take me close to the top, and I bet I could freeze something, right? Freeze a couple things if I wanted to. Be like, nope, this isn't happening. Just
Like
keep doing that.
it's
Apparently,
effectively free. Like when you at the Custodian, you get so much extra influence as well that like 200 influence. It's not that much actually.
yeah, seriously.
You recover it from the extra influence from Custodian only 20 months. So like, I believe that means that every like Senate cycle, you can like freeze like 4 bills in total using only your Custodian influence.
Mm-hmm.
Not including your already base influence you get.
Yeah. One of the really annoying things that I noticed about the Empire is that you can tell he's trying to undermine you and form a rebellion just by going to the Empire screen. There's like envoys that are just like, hey, we're undermining the Empire over here. It's not like a spy where it's a mystery. You just click on this and go to this corner and it's like, oh, these envoys are from this
not even
country.
Star Wars were like that.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. You can tell who's supporting you and who's undermining you. I guess you can fake support by putting that in there and then like getting a natural network of infiltration on the dude. But as I was saying, in all my tests, I couldn't do it. Everything I did was keeping me from getting more than 10 infiltration. And you need 30 to acquire an asset, which will raise your max infiltration. So I was never able to get to the point where I could spark the rebellion with 70 infiltration and 15 difficulty. But I love the idea that it's in here. I just think it needs be a little bit easier to achieve a rebellion. I know why it's not easy. I know why it's not easy to achieve rebellion. They don't want to break apart something that somebody just spent so much time investing into, and there was a lot of testing and consideration for balancing when they came up with that number. But I just feel like it's too high. Rebels do spawn in with a level 3 fed though. That's kind of cool. I didn't get to see that, but they said that in one of one of the streams. And that's everything. That's all my notes. Silas, you're awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. That was a long one.
No problem.
I think
it was kind of a what do you call it, a trip.
I do that sometimes. I ramble on and on and on. This isn't my longest video, but it's getting close to it. But yeah, as I said, I appreciate it. I look forward to doing more stuff with you. Maybe some deep dives on some of the mechanics that we started to talk about here, but we haven't really had enough time to really break them yet.
Maybe we could do some kind of like, I try to like maybe learn you something like the market, like how to use the market,
or
a bit more.
Maybe I could try some of the competitive mods. You mentioned recently that you'd be willing to show me how or give me some tips for doing like a competitive tournament. And I think recording that and actually getting it condensed down to a shorter video would be very helpful for people, because I actually find it really nice when people take the time to help the newer players get good. It's kind of how I felt like Horus community treated me. They were willing to take the time to explain little basic things to me, and now I feel pretty confident at the game, and I love helping other people experience that same thing.
You say that, but I remember the first time I met you in multiplayer, me and Uma were talking about killing you because you lagged the entire lobby.
That's what I'm saying. Some people were willing to help me figure out that you need an Ethernet cable and not a wireless connection for multiplayer. That's good stuff. That's helpful stuff.
Pro tip: don't lag your lobby, because even if you're allowed to stay, people will have you on your side. Will have you in your They have you as a target.
In the crosshairs, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is a good point to wrap it up. I'll see you around, Silas.
Yeah. See you.